Hey everybody. So, the other day we disassembled my Stihl 046 mag named Tiffany. Today we are going to reassemble it. Now, I've already done some port work and I'm just going to kind of let y'all glance in and see the lower transfers right here on this side and this side. Let me shine my light down in here, so maybe let's see how that lights it up pretty good. Okay, so if y'all can make heads or tails of this, my lower transfers, I've opened them up, and you've got one on this side and one down here. I don't know how well y'all will be able to see that. And y'all, this is not going to be a porting video. This is just going to be a reassembly. And I raised the exhaust right here. I raised the exhaust roof. And I lowered my intake just a little bit. And I put these ripples in here in my intake. Hopefully y'all can make tails of all that. I've also installed a pipe plug in the decompression hole to do away with the decompression valve. And we're doing a base gasket delete. In other words, I had one around here. I don't know what I did with it. There's a base gasket that goes on the bottom of this that goes in between the cylinder and the saw down here. Okay. I'm going to do away with that. And what that's going to do is that's going to raise our compression a little bit. Give us a little bit more compression. So if y'all bear with me, we'll put this thing back together right quick. And I've already got the piston sort of halfway laid out because y'all, I didn't want to take up a bunch of video. I've got the piston pin in, and the circlip is already installed on this side. So all I've got to do is set it down on my connecting rod, and y'all, my upper rod bearing, I'm going to go ahead and show you this while I'm here because it'll be easy enough to show you. Here's a connecting rod bearing. It's a roller bearing. And I've already got it installed. And I use Stihl HP Ultra 2-stroke mix. And I've got a Q-tip that I've been just kind of lubing things. I've already pre-lubed the bearings right down in here. I just took some 2-stroke oil, put it on my Q-tip, and soaked it real good. My numbers as far as my porting is concerned, for those of you that care or know anything about port numbers, my timing numbers on my ports is as follows. I raise my exhaust to 100 degrees, so the exhaust will crack open 100 degrees after top dead center. My intake, I advanced to 76 degrees, which would be 152 degrees of total intake timing. And then on my transfers, all I did was just open them up to where they would flow better. I didn't change any transfer timing. However, I've got 30 degrees of blowdown because the transfers open at 130 degrees, which is 30 degrees later than when the exhaust opens. So that means I've got 30 degrees blowdown on my transfers. Which is kind of a long blowdown, which is good. That's what I wanted. So anyway, we'll just dive right into this thing and get it right on. The first thing we got to do, since we're not using a base gasket, I'm going to use some RTV on the mating surface, and I've cleaned this really good with brake cleaner. I've broke all the edges inside, cleaned it up really good with a flapper wheel. You know, everything is nice and slick and smooth. And that's a key to doing this port work, is getting everything nice and smooth and no kind of rough edges or nothing like that. So anyway, without further ado, let's get on into this thing. And I'm going to put just a little bit here on my cylinder. And I don't want to get too carried away with it, because I don't want it getting down in my in my crankcase, and I don't want to change my numbers as far as my timing. And if we get it too thick, it's going to throw our timing numbers off a little. So I just want to get this around here and get a good, just a good bead. It ain't got to be real thick. I just want to get a good bead all the way around. A little bit goes a long way, if that makes sense. And then after I put this thing on here, I'm going to let it set for 24 hours before I do anything. Get my hand real good and clean, because I want to get all that out of that bore. We definitely don't want it in the bore. All right, now let me look at this and just make sure. All right, so there's nothing in the bore. I'm gonna go around it one more time just to make sure. Okay, so here's what it looks like. See, it's just a kind of a thin bead. We definitely don't want a real thick bead at all. So I'm gonna go back around it and just kind of work it down. And this, you know, stuff like this, y'all, it takes patience. It looks pretty good. And I'm gonna go back around the inside of the bore one more time. All right, I got everything off of that. Let me go around the outside, because I don't want no excess silicone RTB. I don't want the excess getting down in the case or nothing like that. So we want to avoid that. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Now that we got that part done, now we can put our piston on. Make sure my hand's good and clean. I'm gonna go ahead and, yeah, my hands are good and clean. So I'm gonna go ahead and slip my piston down on my connecting rod. Oh, another thing I did, I was just gonna show y'all, on these transfer windows right inside here, I went in there and cleaned them up too. I think I told y'all I was gonna do that. So I just kind of wanted to show you that I did. There's an arrow on this piston, y'all, right here. Hopefully y'all can see that. The arrow goes toward the exhaust, which will be that way. That's an important step. I'll put them on backwards, and if you hadn't done it quite a bit, you will, and you'll have to go back and take them off, and it's kind of aggravating till you learn. And like I said, y'all, I ain't by no means, I'm not a pro. I've done a few of them, but I'm not no souped up professional by any means. Let me turn this saw around where I can push this wrist pin on through. All right, so she's good and seated. Now there's a circlip. These are called circlips. They go right here on each side of the connecting rod wrist pin. They go on each side of it. So that'll be the next step I gotta do, is getting it in. So I'm just gonna lay the saw on its side, and y'all won't be able to see this because it's kind of aggravating, and you gotta be careful while you're doing it because you'll lose it if you're not careful. But I just wanted to show y'all the steps so you can kind of get an idea of what all is involved in it. It's hard for me to show every little thing. And at the end of this, y'all, when I get through rebuilding it, we're going to take it out and run it. Of course, it's going to be a time-lapse video because the RTV's got to dry and all that good stuff. Now, you got to be careful doing this because if you ain't careful, this thing can spring and go across the room and you'll lose it. So you have to be careful with it. Alright, y'all. So now I've got the circlips in. My piston's facing the right way. I've got my rings on the I've got my rings on it. And I need to line them up with my there's some little dowels in the ring lands that the rings will go in. And you gotta line them up. I'll try to, well, y'all won't be able to see it because the camera won't focus, so I'm not even going to show you. Because my GoPro here that I got sitting, I want to get some different camera stuff where I can use my phone, because y'all, my phone will zoom better. So I'm not even going to worry with trying to show you about the grooves. But basically, there's grooves in the piston rings. It slopes down like this, the piston rings do, where they come together, the two halves. And there's a pin, a dowel pin that is in the ring land, and those two grooves have to come up to that dowel, and that keeps the rings from walking around and moving while it is in use. Okay, so I got my cylinder ready. It's got the good stuff on it. Now I'm gonna get me a little bit of 2-stroke oil, and I'm gonna lube my piston just a little bit, so it'll go down on there nice and easy. We just want to give it just a little pre-lube. I'm gonna put some on the top and all the way around the sides and all that good stuff. It's gonna smoke a little when it cranks up, but that's all right. I would rather it smoke a little than risk tearing something up. Put it that way. I'm gonna put just a little bit inside the cylinder here to get things kind of started. Make sure we're good there. All right, now we got to use our little handy dandy ring compressor. And what that does, let me check these rings again, make sure I got them lined up right. All right, that looks good. So now what we got to do is put our ring compressor on there, and that'll get our rings compressed. I want to slide them down to right there on the edge. That's what seems to work the best. All right, so now I'm gonna just start my cylinder down on it. All right, now we're inside the cylinder with the piston ring. So let me get my ring compressor out. I'm gonna go ahead and stick my bolts in, because if not, they're hard to get in later. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stick them in. Swap hands here. I'll go ahead and get that down. And that one. Okay, now I'm just gonna ease her down. There she goes. All right, now we come back down through these holes like I showed y'all the other day. Okay, so that one is started. I'm gonna run them down till they just barely touch. I want to get them all started good first before I do any kind of torquing. All right, that one touched. This one here ain't wanting to cooperate with me too good. See what I can do here. Maybe help it out. It's just a little stiff, but it's going. Stiffer than the rest of them, I should say. Alright, that one's touched. And this one's on its way. Now they're all in there. All 4 mount bolts is in. We've got our RTV on the bottom for the mating surface for the gasket. So we're going to go ahead and torque them down. I'm going to go back around them one more time just to make sure I got them all really good. Oh, I meant to tell y'all on one of my numbers, and this is mainly for you guys at port. I checked the squish with some lead wire. If I had it handy, I would show y'all. It's just electrical solder. It's 60 thousandths electrical solder. I stuck it in a spark plug hole, spun the crank over, and it crushed it to 20 thousandths. So that's what my crush is from the top of the piston to the top of the cylinder wall. 20 thousandths. Okay, now I think I'm just going to go ahead and take my timing wheel off because I don't need to time it again. I'm confident in my numbers on the timing. So let me go ahead and get this thing off right quick and I'll be right back with you. Okay guys, now I'm back. So we got the cylinder on. What I want to do now is I just want to spin it over without the plug in it. I just want to, you know, all the ports are open right now. No intake, no exhaust, no nothing. I just want to I want to spin it over and see how it reacts. Everything looks pretty good so far. It feels nice. It spins over nice and easy. Yeah, everything feels good. Okay, so now we'll press on, let's see, the next thing we probably need to install will be, we'll start working on the carburetor end, putting our intake boot on, and then come back out, you know, that way with the carburetor. So let me get this stuff here. Let me lay it out. I've already blowed everything off with an air hose and cleaned it up, so you know it's in pretty good shape, I think. Okay. Now, this is our intake boot, and hopefully I can get this thing back on. I hope so. I probably should have put it on before I probably should have done this before I put the cylinder on. Actually, I know I should have. So, y'all pause just a second and I'll be right back. Okay, y'all, I'm back. Sorry about that. So all I did while I was gone, was pull the cylinder back up. I didn't take it all the way off. I just pulled it up high enough to get the intake boot on, which is right there. And now I'm going to have to take my screwdriver and just ease it through the hole. And you got to kind of be careful doing this because you don't want to, you don't want to tear it. It is a rubber boot. And sometimes it can kind of be aggravating. It takes a little doings. It can be aggravating, so you just sort of have to kind of make do with what you got. All right, now this little piece goes on there. I'll show it to you since we right here at it now. I'll put y'all some light up there where you can see the intake boot, and then it's got that gold ring around it that's on the studs. So that's how that goes. And then we've got our inner ring. This little deal here, it goes on the inside. Let me stick it in there and then I'll show you again. And basically what it's for is it keeps the boot from collapsing. It'll take me a minute to get it in there. Y'all just bear with me. There we go. Now. All right, that looks pretty good. I'll show you again. All right. So maybe y'all can see that. You see the intake now all the way down to the cylinder? I hope y'all can. And it's got that inside ring. It just keeps it from collapsing. Because it's going to pull a lot of suction. It's going to pull a lot of suction on it. Especially now that we've raised the compression because we've done away with the cylinder base gasket. So that's going to give us a little bit more compression and a little more horsepower. Let me turn this light off. I don't want to blind y'all. Alright. So the next thing is going to be the carburetor, I believe. Let me pull that little thing out. Walbro carburetor. And it's pretty simple. Let me get it facing the right way. It's pretty simple. The fuel line is fixed in position, and the impulse line is already in position. And the carburetor just slides right into it. It ain't a real big deal at all, y'all. Okay, so now that we got that done, let me make sure here. I gotta find all my intake parts, because there's a few of them on these older saws. There's a few little parts that go on them. So, and a lot of times I wind up having to do it a couple times. I reckon y'all ain't quite like that, are you? This is our throttle linkage. We can go ahead and stick it in there and just kind of, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go ahead and hook it up. Let me, well, my cutoff cable has got in my way. Let me ease my carburetor back out a little. That wire, there it goes. Alright, now I'll just push my carburetor right back there. That'll be fine. Okay, so now I remember that goes on the outside, I do believe, like that. So we need to wait on that part just a minute. I think our next part is going to be this little deal. I believe that goes like that, because I believe this has got to go through there like that. And then I gotta weave that up in there and get my throttle cable hooked up. Get that choke out of my way. Okay. Now, I think I've got it. I believe that's right. Okay, so now that my throttle linkage is in there, y'all can see, I'll put you a little bit of light on it. That little base plate right here, and then the throttle linkage has got to go through it. I believe that's right. We'll find out here in just a second. I got to take this back off, because this is where our throttle hooks up. And I found it's just easier to go ahead and take it off than it is to try to fight it. That's been my experience. Okay. Now, let me see here. I was thinking that thing was supposed to go through there, but maybe it didn't. Let me just put it on here like this and see. Yeah, there we go. That's right. Now, yeah, this piece here, it doesn't go through there like I thought, y'all. Throttle linkage hooks up, and then this goes on there. It just slides on there like that. Sometimes I kind of forget. I have to figure out what I got going on. All right. Let's see if I can figure my way through this. Okay, so there's that. Put this back in. Now, yeah, that should be good. Okay, so that works like it's supposed to, I believe. Okay, y'all. So before my battery died again, we were putting the throttle linkage on, which is right here, and this little old plate. So I'm gonna let y'all see that right quick. All right. Now we've got to put this backing plate on. That goes down right over your carburetor. Then this little thingamajig right here goes on. And then the nuts. I don't know how long my battery will last this time, so I'm going to try to kind of go as quick as I can so y'all get the gist of it. I'm sure most of you probably already know all this. Then this thing goes in. It's like an air clean, a pre-cleaner. It goes on like that, so now y'all can kind of see where we're at there. Alright, so I think the next order of business, we probably should go ahead and put the exhaust muffler on. And then we'll put our top cover on and our back cover, and we'll be about through. So here's our new exhaust gasket. Alrighty. And it's just this back piece right here. It just bolts on to the exhaust side of the piston right there. Now, normally, y'all, I like using this blue Loctite. Normally, I would put Loctite, especially on the muffler side, because them screws will tend to back out. But I'm not going to do that this time, mainly because I'm going to pull the muffler back off after I break it in, after I run it in. I'm going to pull the muffler back off and inspect the piston. So I'm not going to worry with trying to put Loctite on it right now. I will do that a little bit later. Here's our heat shield, and I always get this thing confused, I believe. Let me see here. I believe it goes on there like that. Yeah, that looks right. Alright. Let me get my screws put in here. And then I'll go ahead and put my gasket on. Alright. And then we'll go ahead and hang this on. Uh-oh. See, I just went ahead and stacked them. I think that's probably going to be the easiest way to do it. Let me hold it right there just a second. I believe I got that one started. And I believe I got that one started. See, this one's a little bit longer. Yeah, there we go. Like I said, I'd put blue Loctite on it, y'all, but since how I'm gonna pull the muffler back off to inspect it, I'm gonna let it go through about 5 or 6 heat cycles. Just crank it up, kind of let it idle, warm it up a little, rev it up some, set the carburetor, tune it, and then shut it back off, let it cool off, crank it back up, do the same thing all over again, and go through several cycles until it starts to seat the rings good, and then I'll call it good. Okay, so now this muffler cover, this is a dual port muffler because it's got one here and then it's got a port over here on the back side. Matter of fact, while I got this up here, I'll let y'all see it. See the screws down in there? Okay. Now my muffler cover will go on. Matter of fact, I need to look at it. Yeah, that looks good. I think that'll work. Most of this stuff's pretty simple, y'all. These chainsaws they're not very hard to work on. If somebody like me can do it, anybody can do it. And again, y'all, I'm not a professional porter, saw builder. I'm not. I just learned a lot from watching the Iron Horse and also 10-man saws. I really enjoy those fellas' channels, so if y'all get a chance, y'all, if y'all do me a favor, go over there and say hello to those guys and tell them I sent you if you don't care. And that'll help all of us out on YouTube, you know, kind of pay it back, because they've been a big help to me getting my saw fixed, you know, and doing this porting deal. So if y'all don't care, go over and say hello to them, pay it back to them, and that way, you know, we can kind of all help each other, you know. You can learn about anything, I guess, on YouTube, you know, if a fella wants to. There's so many people out there doing so much different stuff nowadays. And you know, that's part of the reason why I do what I do, y'all. It's just kind of, I feel like I kind of owe it back to society to try to do a little bit for YouTube. My phone's over here going off. It's just a reminder. Let me clear that thing right quick. Okay, so the muffler's on, I do believe. Let me check it one more time. Like I said, y'all, again, I'm gonna take it back off after we run through a heat cycle. But there's the muffler. It's on, the muffler cover. Now, let's try to put our top piece on. And I try to keep all my parts in bags, y'all. That's about the only way I can keep up with everything. Alright, let me make sure I got my spark plug wire in its place, because that can be a problem. Let's see here. Alright, I believe I got it. I believe I got that part of it anyway. There it is. These old saws, y'all, are they're not very complicated as far as tearing into them. I ain't too sure that a Husky might not be a little easier to work on. I've just gotten used to working on these Stihls. It's kind of like a Chevrolet and Ford thing. It's just a preference on what a man likes, I guess. I do like all these old flat top saws, 046s, 066s, 044s, you know, they're good saws. I really enjoy them. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down before I forget them. These cover screws. And then we got to put our spark plug in, and our rear cover, and we'll be in good shape. So let's go ahead and put our plug in now. And I'm gonna put me just a tad bit of anti-seize on that. So y'all bear with me just a second here. All right, so I got some anti-seize on the threads. Keep it from seizing up. Run it all the way down my finger as far as it'll go. Let's see, I've got a different one of these plug wrenches. I've got one that's got a little longer reach on it. That's a little bit nicer for this particular saw. Alright, see how the difference in the head on them, y'all? That one's short and stubby, and that one's long. See what I mean? That one got a longer reach. It works a little better for this particular saw. Okay, so we've got the top piece on. The plug's in. Now we can go ahead and plug the plug wire up. Alright, plug wire's in. Now we've got this rubber piece, these old saws. Most of them has got this on it. Get it put in there. It's just a rubber boot's all it is. Now I always make sure that my choke is down when I put this back cover on. And we got to put this air filter on. So there's our air filter. Let me turn this around where y'all can see. All right, so there's our air filter. And this piece right here just goes on top of it. These old saws don't have quite as good a filtering system as the newer ones, the strato type saws do. You kind of have to keep a check on it. I like to really tighten that down, cinch it down good where to stay. Okay, now all we like is our handlebar, and we'll be in good shape. Hopefully we can get that on without our battery dying. Alrighty. Now, anytime you're putting something together, y'all, don't tighten it down completely until you get all your screws started. I learned that when I first started becoming an aircraft mechanic. And this handle here is actually kind of messed up a little. One of the holes on it stripped. I can't remember which one it is. I believe it's the back one. But I'm gonna get some resin and fill it in and fix it. I just want to get it to where I can run it and see, make sure everything's gonna be all right. All right, so there's that. Okay, now she's back together. Tiffany's done. She'll be ready to run. The next part of the video, y'all, I'm gonna be showing y'all it running. Right now, I can't let it run because it's the silicone under the cylinder head's got to dry. So we need to give it 24 hours to dry. So to keep the video interesting, because I know y'all want to see it run. That's like what everybody likes to see. Boy, she's got a lot more compression now. Yeah, you can feel it. She'll hit hard now. She'll pull through that big wood. Anyway, I know y'all want to see it run, so instead of doing 2 separate videos of it running, I'm just gonna stop this video for now. I'll wait for 24 hours to come, and I'll go ahead and run it, so y'all can watch me run it and see how it runs. And once we do some heat cycles and everything here in a few days, I'll start cutting timber with it and let y'all see how it does in some wood. So anyway, y'all stick with me here, and we'll get this thing running. All right, hey everybody. Okay, so here's Tiffany, the 046 mag that we just got through rebuilding. Y'all, I have been extra patient. It's been 36 hours since I've rebuilt it, and I wanted to wait for y'all to be able to run it. I wanted to be patient and let y'all get the first run on video. So make or break us, it's the first one. She'll probably smoke a little bit because of the assembly oil that I put in. She'll probably smoke a little bit to start with. All I've done is I pulled it through a few times. I put gas in it, pulled it a few times with the switch off to kind of prime it, you know, get some fuel going. So now I'm gonna turn the switch on and we're gonna fire it up for the first time. Let me choke it. want to get it up on the high end, you know, on the top. Hang on a minute, let me cut this thing off. I'll talk to you, planner. Let's see how it fires back up real quick. Pretty good. Okay. So, what I'm gonna do, y'all, what I was trying to tell you a while ago while it was running, I knew that wasn't gonna work out. I'm gonna run it through some heat cycles. Now, normally in the past, I haven't done that. I just kind of rebuild them and, oh man, I just rebuilt them and sunk them in some wood and went on about my way. But this time, under the advice of the Iron Horse and the Tin Man, I'm gonna take my time and run it through several heat cycles and let it break in the rings, you know, let them seat good. So all I'm gonna do is crank it up, you know, just touch the throttle every once in a while. I don't want to get it up on the pipe and get it wide open. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to load it. My plan is to run a whole tank of gas through it and just let it go through those heat cycles, at least 5 or 6 good heat cycles, and get the ring seated good. Then after I do that, I'm gonna pull the muffler back off and check it for any kind of scoring or marking. I chamfered all my edges real good in the piston, or in the cylinder, excuse me. I chamfered all my edges real good and cleaned them up real good with sandpaper, so we shouldn't have no issues. But just in case, now's the time to find it rather than wait till later. So Tiffany's on her way. She runs good, she cranks good. Now, like I said, I'm just gonna break it in slowly, let the ring seat, put it through some heat cycles. We'll pull the muffler back off, inspect it, make sure that there's no scoring or nothing like that going on, and then I'll put the bar on it and we'll start doing some, you know, limbing with it. Just nothing that's gonna load it real heavy, but just kind of load it up a little bit at a time, if that makes any sense. But look here, y'all, thanks for hanging out with me and going on this journey with Tiffany. I've got 2 more saws of my own that I've got to rebuild, and I've got let's see, 2 more saws for other people to rebuild. So I'm gonna be busy building saws at the same time that I got everything else going. But y'all, I gotta go, because I gotta go get the mules harnessed and we gotta head to the woods, and I'm gonna try to get y'all some footage of that also. So y'all take care, have a good one, we'll see you.